Hello, everyone. It's Shane Kanto, your Wasteland Reviewer, and welcome to Lost in the Wasteland, my weekly interview show where I get a chance to get to know somebody's perspective on movies. And we have a new guest this week who I got to meet going on to the Infinity Film podcast with my pals Rod and Ben, who have been on the show. And Tyler, welcome aboard.
Well, thank you so much for having me on, Shane. I'm really happy to be here, and I'm feeling pretty good. I'm feeling really great, and again, thank you so much for having me on here.
I'm glad to have you, and I know for a fact Tyler's quite the competitor when it comes to any kind of movie-related things, as we've waged war on the Infinity Film podcast. But Tyler, so give you a chance to introduce yourself, shamelessly plug whatever you'd like to shamelessly plug to our audience.
Okay. Yeah, so I'm Tyler Banark. I'm known on Instagram as Tyler Banark Reviews Movies. I'm also on Twitter and Letterboxd at Tyler Banark Movies. And I'm also a member of League of Cinephiles. It's a YouTube channel that I've been part of since February of last year, where we do film trivia, we do film debates, or Cinema Wars, what we call them. I'm also part of the Critic Circle, which is like a little Critic Circle that comes with it too. I also have been a writer for cinemasouls.com and buffilmbuffs.com. I'm born and raised from Omaha, Nebraska, and it's that's the rundown of me. But yeah. Mm-hmm.
Awesome. And I know I recall back in like grad school, I jumped headlong into watching like the Schmodown and stuff like that. And movie trivia is a lot of fun. I got them to start doing trivia nights at my college when I was in film club there. And I remember the first year we did it, my two friends and I lost to our one friend, Griff, who basically single-handedly beat us, and we lost by one question. And I'll never forget. Never forget.
I had some experience like that too. Like when I was, I think my freshman or sophomore year of college, we had a filmmaking club and not like a film watching club, but at the time. But when the filmmaking club we were in, it was called Cinema 16, and we had a trivia night one night. Nice. And we were divided up into like three teams, and it was like me and two guys that I had just met that day, like at that meeting. And somehow, and like it was us and two other teams. Like all the other teams were like a lot bigger than us. Like it was just three of us, and like these other teams were like 5, 6, 7 people. And somehow, the three of us who have never met each other somehow won that match.
There you
go.
I
put emphasis on somehow because I don't know how we did or what happened. I mean, like the competition must have been very sucky that night. But yeah, we won it, and like we got a grand prize, which is like just a bunch of DVDs, and like one of them was I have a digital copy of Shutter Island now because of it. So
there you go.
Yeah, I know.
Great choice.
Yeah. So like I mean I gotta have experience like that too. So
it's always fun because like being able to do like movie trivia and stuff like that. It's like sometimes it's like you just sit there with all this movie knowledge and it's like, what can I use this for? And then you show up as like, my day's come. And then you get to show off. But to get things started with our questions, I'm always amused asking this question because some people really know an answer and some people hate this question. But Tyler, what is your favorite film?
Yeah, so I mean, it can be a loaded question based on who you ask, but luckily for me, I have a sort of mostly straightforward answer to this. So there are two movies that I've been back and forth with recently on which one I consider my number one. And the first one that I'm gonna say has been one that's been my favorite film for a long time. But I'm having second thoughts about it. Maybe just Baby Don't Bow number two. I still love it, but just maybe number two now. And that is Damien Chazelle's 2014 film Whiplash. I remember when seeing the trailer when this movie came out, and kind of like how I got got my start into into like watching movies and like maybe even like getting a little bit of filmmaking. But I just remember that I saw it in theaters with my dad, and that was an experience I will never forget. Like just the movie was just so intense, and like it was just like just you get that sweating feeling like everywhere, especially like during the that scene where Andrew has to go to this out of town jazz competition. The bus breaks down. He gets his drumsticks, and then he goes through all that stuff. Then it all climaxes to when he gets into a car accident, and like just everything about that scene just like gave me like I think one of the biggest adrenaline rushes ever. But other than that, like, it's also a really good film. Miles Teller and J.K. Simmons are both awesome in it. Like, I personally, hot take, I think Terrence Fletcher is a lot scarier than probably the majority of horror movie villains out there, I think, in my opinion, at least.
Oh, J.K. Simmons was amazing.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
And just the fact that it's like, I don't think I could ever hear anybody ever say the word tempo ever again without thinking of as like, not my tempo. It's just like, what is your tempo?
Yeah, so that's one. And the other one is my favorite film from my favorite directors, and that is Quentin Tarantino's Pulp Fiction. And now, before you come at me and say, oh, Pulp Fiction, that's such a basic answer for your favorite Tarantino movie. Listen, it's one of the most extremely well-written films, and given the time that it came out in 1994, I don't think there was many, narrative films that had like a narrative structure like Pulp Fiction. And it's great. It's got some great comedy to it. You got some great performances, and John Travolta, Samuel Jackson, Uma Thurman, Bruce Willis. That whole cast is awesome. And Tarantino's writing, what can go wrong with that? What's not to love about that? Yeah, I mean, it's just a really enjoyable film. It puts a smile on my face. And the first time I watched it, it was on a bus to a choir competition in high school. And looking back on it now, I probably could have had a better watching experience with it, but it didn't change the thing how much I loved it. And it really I had a rough start with Tarantino, but that movie flipped the switch, and now he's one of my favorite directors of all time. So those are my favorite films.
Pulp Fiction will do that to you. I have plenty of it's one of those kinds of things where it's like, if you're into film, a lot of people love Pulp Fiction, and it's such an interesting conversation you can have about the year 1994 and whether, Samuel L. Jackson still hasn't let it go.
Oh, yeah.
It's like Martin Landau. To be honest, putting him as supporting actor made no sense to begin with, to be perfectly honest. And he killed, there's very few speeches by characters in movies better than what he says at that diner at the end of that film. And my friend Matt has that wallet.
Oh man, I'm jealous.
He was one of my groomsmen for my wedding, and I got everybody custom pens with movie quotes on them, and I just put badass mother effer on it. He appreciated it. Now, Tyler, what's your earliest memory of going to the movies?
Yeah, so this is a question that I really do like, and I'm surprised I haven't heard people ask about this a lot. But the earliest memory I have going to the movies, and let me just start by saying that I probably seen a movie before this one, but this movie is the first movie I remember seeing in theaters in my whole life, and that is Chronicles of Narnia: The Lion, the Witch, and the Wardrobe. And I was I was 6 years old, and it came out on my birthday, so I got to see it on my birthday. And it was my parents took me and my older sister to see it. My younger sister, she was I don't know how old, but they're probably, she's probably a little young for this movie. So they dropped off my grandma's, and it was just the four of us. And it was a lot of fun. It was, I always looked forward to seeing, when I found out that movie was coming out on my birthday, I was like, oh my gosh, I gotta see this movie. And but yeah, Lion, Witch, and the Wardrobe, I haven't seen it in a really long time, and I've been meaning to revisit it. But it was, I just remember just watching that movie and seeing, the story about these four siblings, getting transported off to this, fantastical world, and trying how this film, this prophecy being the chosen ones to save Narnia and all that. And again, I mean, I need a refresher on it because I haven't seen it, and who knows how long. But yeah, I mean, that's the first movie I remember seeing in theaters was Lion, Witch, and Wardrobe.
I remember going on a field trip, I think in 8th grade, to go see that. They took our whole entire grade to go see Lion, Witch, and the Wardrobe in theaters. That was pretty cool. It was better than some of the other field trips we went on. But that's definitely one of those ones that like I've watched quite a bit from. Well, I guess that was more of my preteen years, but
Mhm.
still, it's like I've read all the books, and I always loved the movie, and Liam Neeson's as Aslan the Lion.
Oh yeah, yeah. I'm more of like I think from my memory of it, like Tilda Swinton in that movie, she was pretty awesome.
She's in like a whole other movie. Like she didn't have to go as hard as she did in Chronicles of Narnia, and she did.
Mhm.
And it's like that, and I'm pretty sure that was the first time I ever saw her in a movie. And it's like scared me as a like in middle school.
Mhm.
But I had a similar feeling with like when Harry Potter first started coming out. It always came out around my birthday. I'm like, well,
Nice.
go to see Harry Potter for my birthday, and then they're like, let's move it to June. We'll make more money. I'm like, screw because like the last couple of them came out, and like the last one came out in the middle of the summer because they're like, we're gonna
Oh
rack up
yeah.
the money. I'm just like, this is supposed to be a November movie. Why'd you do this to me? But I'm not offended, obviously.
Yeah.
But Tyler, do you have any particular favorite genres of film?
Yeah, so I mean like I'm open to most genres out there. The only one I think I would make an exemption to that I would probably stay away from is probably like monster movies. I'm talking like, like the Godzilla, King Kong, or like I like hold on, sorry, I had a brain fart, but I mean like some like monster movies I wouldn't say are my cup of tea, but I'm okay with watching any genre, as long as it looks appealing. But
Mhm.
I will say that at one point in time, I did have a number one favorite genre, and that was the coming of age genre,
Okay.
and particularly, John Hughes movies, like Breakfast Club, 16 Candles, Ferris Bueller's Day Off. Another coming of age film that I also loved, like during the time where my coming of age, my favorite genre was this 2013 film called The Way Way Back.
Okay.
Have you heard seen that movie, Shane?
Yep.
Yeah, that movie just it hit me really well. It hit me really hard, and Duncan was relatable to a T, and Sam Rockwell, Sam Rockwell killed that role, and like he is that role, his performance in the movie is like one of my favorites of ever.
Yep.
But again, great cast, feel good, and very relatable too. So I would think.
My brother and you would get along very well. My brother's a huge John Hughes fan, and their Breakfast Club is his favorite movie. And also Steve Carell was a dick.
Oh yeah.
Way back.
Oh yeah.
Oh
Oh yeah.
man.
Toni Collette too. I think she was also, I mean, she wasn't. I mean, she's not a terrible mother, but at the same time, she could be better.
Yeah.
In my opinion, at least.
She had some room for growth. Steve Carell, irredeemable.
Yeah.
Piece of
totally.
crap.
Totally. Yeah. Owen was definitely the father figure that Duncan deserved more than Trent.
Yeah. Trent.
Yeah.
Even the name. Now, Tyler, who are some of your favorite filmmakers?
Yeah. So, like I said earlier, Quentin Tarantino, he's one of my favorites. I love his style. He's the kind of director where like, people will criticize him for, his weird style, whether it's like over the top violence or, people will throw jokes at him because, people say he has a foot fetish, or that he, I don't know, some other, random bull crap, but
he certainly does, but we won't hold that against him.
Yeah, but you'll come up with like whatever bull crap it is, to be like, oh, I don't like him because X, Y, and Z. But he sticks to his guns. He's like, I don't care, like, because I did this, I made a decision because it's fun, And like I remember hearing in like an interview for Kill Bill, like someone was asking him, why the need for so much violence? And he's like, because it's so much fun, Jan. And I'm like, that's my director right there. That's the kind of guy that's the kind of director that that people need to have. He is a director for the people, and someone that will stick to his guns and always back up with what he has to say. So him, and another one that I love is a lot is Christopher Nolan.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, what do I need to say there? Christopher Nolan is a genius. He is, he meticulously makes his films down to a science, and it's, I mean, sometimes it can be a bit over the top. Like I think Tenet was a bit over the top, but still good. But just I don't know how he does certain things. I don't know how I look at film, I'm like, okay, how do you do that? And you know, it just blows my mind. And, you know, I'm really excited for his new film, Oppenheimer. You know, I mean, one, it's Christopher Nolan, but what makes it even more hype, you know, is that gigantic cast. And it's just, Christopher Nolan is just, you know, he's awesome. You know, my favorite movie of his, I have to say, is like between The Dark Knight and Inception. But like, you know, he's just a filmmaker that, you know, like he will do whatever it takes to, you know, get what he wants. And even then, like, he also cares about the movie going experience tremendously.
Yep.
I hear like he cares like little reel of film in his pocket everywhere he goes. And, you know, he always, you know, and again, like, you know, it's another director that, you know, who's like, you know, why do this? And, you know, he always sticks to his guns. You know, someone asking for Dunkirk. I remember him saying, you know, like, well, do you think people get confused about the multiple storylines happening? He's like, well, sometimes just like F it, you know? And I'm like,
that it's Nolan is the director for every person who has deep down that desire to be like a filmmaker.
Oh yeah.
Because like there's just a whole other level of craft that he puts into everything. And now he's like, Dunkirk didn't get me it. So Oppenheimer's getting me my Oscar. He's gunning for it.
Oh yeah, he's definitely going for it.
So I'm a huge Interstellar and Prestige fan. And I remember watching The Prestige for the first time and just my mind blown. I'm just like, what? Because to be honest, I didn't see any of that coming. And I'm just like, what is going on here? And then Interstellar's like, and it's interesting because Tarantino's that he is a student of the game. He's a student of film. And you could see in moments where it comes out in Nolan too, because like, do you think he watched 2001: A Space Odyssey and like Stanley Kubrick? He certainly does. And it was all over Interstellar, and I appreciated that a lot. Now, next question. So instead of behind the camera, getting out in front of the camera. Okay. So Tyler, who are some of your favorite actors or actresses?
So actors, I'd say, I mean, Leonardo DiCaprio, he's one that I enjoy a lot. Favorite role of his, I'd say, would have to be Django Unchained. It's a bizarre role, but like, I mean, he definitely proved that he could, you know, he can play both sides of the coin. He could be a good guy. You know, we've seen it happen multiple times. But when Django, he proved that he could also be, you know, he can also lean out his dark side and, you know, be the bad guy. And I think that takes a lot of commitment, especially, you know, that you hear that story of like, you know, when they're shooting a scene and like he smashed his hand into a glass and like cuts his hand for real. And, you know, he did not break for it. That's impressive, extremely impressive. And another actor, I would say, male actor, I'd say it would have to be, always haven't been a big fan of Tom Hanks. In fact, I just watched The Terminal for the first time a couple hours ago. But I think my favorite performance is his have to be Forrest Gump, just because, you know, why not? And then actresses, I also have a toss-up for that one, and it's between Jennifer Lawrence and Emma Stone. Jennifer Lawrence, you know, she was a hot commodity from 2012 to 2016. I think she definitely needs a reboot, I think, in my opinion. And you know, I think my favorite performance of hers, Little Hunger Games franchise is fantastic. I think she's great in that. And then Emma Stone, her performance in La La Land is without my favorite. In fact, Emma Stone's performance in La La Land is like my favorite performance by a lead actress of all time. So,
and just to think it could have been Emma Watson. It turned out for the best. It's Leo and Brad Pitt are two of those actors where I'm like, they should do more quirky things because they are amazing at it. So like, I love neurotic Leo. So like between Don't Look Up and Once Upon a Time in Hollywood, his just neuroticism and just insecurity, just off the charts. Love it. And I think that's why he stands out in Django Unchained too, because it's different, it's weird. Because a lot of the time, Leo is like the prototypical leading man. And I don't think enough people talk about The Aviator, because what he had to do being this just giant personality who struggled so much with OCD and just the way that he had to express all that anxiety is so amazing. And and Tom Hanks. It's Tom Hanks.
Yeah.
Whether you put him in a fat suit and give him a giant fake nose like an Elvis, or plays 50 different people in Cloud Atlas, or any of the number of amazing performances he's given. Like, I love him in like Saving Mr. Banks as Walt Disney. Beautiful Day in the Neighborhood as Mr. Rogers.
Oh yeah.
I was like, what? When they cast him originally, because like from a look standpoint, no, but from like just a being, he embodied Fred Rogers so amazingly in that movie. He definitely deserved that Oscar nomination he got.
Oh, sure.
And then Jennifer Lawrence went so cold so quick out of nowhere, and it was made me really happy to see her in Don't Look Up, and I don't think she got enough credit because she had the thankless role in the movie to call everybody out on their crap right away.
Okay.
And like, she played that perfectly, and everybody remembers Leo's freak out from the movie, but like, she freaked out first.
Yeah.
And it was a really good one too. And Emma Stone, I loved Emma Stone ever since Crazy Stupid Love. She's one of my favorite like romantic leads in any rom-com, and just her and Ryan Gosling are just great together, apparently. So
for sure. Like, I definitely say they're like they're one acting duo that I think should be out there, like one of the best acting duos out there, like across board in like in any sense. Like, them together, fantastic.
They'll always have Gangster Squad. The forgotten one that they were in together. Now, Tyler, what's a film that you feel like you could watch like every day and not get tired of?
Okay, now that is a loaded question. Oh man, film I could watch literally every day. Yeah, I'm gonna have to go with this is a tough one, like hard to think about because there's so many, but if I had to pick one, I'd probably have to say 1917.
Okay.
So yeah, 1917 was quite an experience for me when I saw it in theaters. Like, I wasn't planning on seeing it, and then like the Golden Globes came out and like it won Best Picture, and they're like, oh, we just won Best Picture, and we haven't even released to the public yet. I'm like, okay, I guess we're seeing it now. And I go into it, and it just blew me out of the water. Like, holy cow! Like this Sam Mendes, like the way how they're able to make it awesome, like it was done in one long take, and the effects and too, like the Thomas Newman score, and like one aspect that I think should get more love from that film is George Mackay's performance in it, because that dude carried the movie on his shoulders when it came to the acting. Especially it was mostly him running the show, because I mean, like Dean Charles Chapman, he was great as well, but he goes like that, and
which it still surprised me.
Yeah,
it said like, wait a minute, and I love all the parade of veteran British actors that they just pull off popping up in that movie. Like Colin Firth, one scene. Benedict Cumberbatch, 30 seconds. And it's just like Mark Strong, just like putting them out there. Just love that. But Drew McKay's like, he had to carry that movie. And one word, Deakins.
Roger Deakins.
Oh man, and that is why he's the GOAT. Because cinematography.
Yeah.
Now,
it was also, go ahead.
Oh, no, go ahead, Tyler.
I was just gonna say the other thing about 1917 that I love so much about it is that that trench run scene in like the film's climax. That was like the first time I can recall in my life where like I got emotional for it, but not because it was a sad moment, but because like it just reminded me how much I love cinema and like how beautiful it all can be. Like that moment, especially when he gets up out of the trench, the whistle blows, and you see him running against the tide of soldiers, and in the music you hear that little drum fill come in, and then like ba ba da da da, and like that, just I get goosebumps every time I listen to that score. And watch
That's
that.
a Thomas Newman score, isn't it? Or am
Uh,
I
did I not say Thomas Newman?
Oh, I don't think he did. But yeah,
But yeah, Thomas Newman. Yep.
it's I remember the teaser trailer when that came out, and that
Yeah.
was basically the trailer, and it's just like 1917 just like comes into focus, and you're just like,
Yeah.
what is this? And watching that, and because I think I saw that in a Prime theater at AMC, and I was afraid because I took my mom to go see that, and like she has some nerve issues, and the trailers were like rocking the seats. I'm like, what the hell's the movie gonna be like? But no, they just have the trailers like turned up ridiculously loud and obnoxious, but like you could feel it like in your chest and everything. I
Yeah.
hadn't felt that way in a theater since I watched Revenge of the Fallen in IMAX, and that was not a good experience. This was. So there you go. I didn't need to be sitting there in a theater, sitting under the testicles of a giant transformer, because thanks, Michael Bay. Now, Tyler, who's a movie character? So, what's a film that you connect with because it relates to another interest of yours?
Yeah. So, film that connects closely to another interest of mine. Well, I might have to piggy off back it again and say Whiplash, just because I'm also I've been a musically inclined guy a little bit throughout my life. Or basically, scratch that. Let me rephrase that. Basically, it's a toss up between Whiplash and La La Land because they're both, I'm a big music guy growing up, so like music was a big part of my life as well, and especially with La La Land, I once had a dream of become a Broadway actor on Broadway. And that from that opening scene with Another Day of Sun, having all these people talk about their hopes and dreams about making it into LA, like trying to get it onto the scene, what kind of inspired them to do all that. It really encapsulates like what inspires people to do what they want to do. Especially and it has to be like in the entertainment industry, it could be like across the board in anything. And so with Whiplash, it's you want to talk about someone who has who wants to accomplish something, and will go whatever length it can to achieve it, even if it includes losing a lot of things along the way, whether it's relationships, or whether it's you're you have a shift in your character, it's all that stuff. It's sad, but at the same time, it's sometimes you got to do what you got to do. Sometimes you got to burn bridges, or build bridges with the wrong people, but whatever the case may be. But yeah, I'd say Whiplash and La La Land, both connect, some I can interest I have. Well, I don't know if I really answer your question, but like,
I think those films, I think Damien Chazelle, and like, I feel like First Man's a little bit different, but like, I feel like Damien Chazelle hit such a chord with people with both Whiplash and La La Land, and especially La La Land, because it's the kind of thing, it's just like that drive to be able to do something with the dream of yours. And I think one of the reasons why I appreciate it so much as a romance is it acknowledges the fact that a relationship is more than just love and compatibility.
Yeah.
It's all about timing, and timing can be a bitch. And I think La La Land captures like, is one person being in your life worth giving up your dream when that comes knocking? And I think it's interesting that a film went in that direction where it acknowledges that like both of these people had a chance, and they mutually understood that it was too big of a chance to give up. And you're always going to have like the what if, but that's life. And I think that's why that movie speaks so well to so many people. And then, especially if you had aspirations of being an artist, a musician, just love jazz, and those movies connect with people. So I definitely think that hits on the point of like if that like you connected with that movie because it connected with something that you wanted to do and aspirations that you had. Now, who's a film character that you feel like you connect with on a personal level?
Yeah, this is an easy one for me. I'd say Will Hunting from Good Will Hunting. I mean, he's just I mean, I don't know if it's because like when you watch it and I'm 22 years old and looking back on that movie and watching seeing Matt Damon chronicle the life of a guy in his late teens, early 20s that that thinks he has it all figured out but doesn't. He like he's a character of multiple layers, and that's what I love about him is that like he what I love about the character, what makes me what I connect him with most is that sometimes I feel like I get closed off to people, especially with people I love the most, and like sometimes when they give me an opportunity to a way out, sometimes I sometimes feel like I put up this wall, but then again you got people in life like Sean McGuire who are like who remind you that it's not your fault, or that we'll lay the hammer, we'll hit you, we'll give you a big thump in the head with whatever that with that monologue that he gave about him and his wife. And it's just sometimes when we get caught up in our lives, sometimes we do need a thump in the head.
Yeah.
And that scene where Sean gives Will a thump in the head with that monologue, I do think was it's great. But yeah, no, Will Hunting, I mean, I see a lot of myself in him. I mean, obviously, I'm not, I'm not as unfortunate as him. I'm not like, I'm not adopted, or I didn't have like, a bad upbringing, but, just have that, have that, like closed offness, or like sometimes, that isolation that, you sometimes feel like with yourself. I sometimes feel that, but like, at the end of the day, you got people who, that want to be there for you, that want to, that want to help you have a way out, help you get the way out. And, sometimes you just gotta, you gotta take that chance. And, at the end when he does and, decides to go, see about a girl and, drive out to California to be with, what's her face? Skylar. That's that's what we all aim to achieve. So I probably got too personal there with that answer, but hey,
it's a personal question.
Yeah.
So there you go. And you definitely answered it. And it's just like, stole my line. I have to say, Good Will Hunting has one of the best twists ever, that he didn't actually go to that Red Sox game when he's just like, oh, I didn't see it. I was meeting my wife. He's like, what? Are you kidding me? That is such a great moment. And then for my wedding, I had movie quotes on all the tables.
Yeah.
And one of them was like, they call those the imperfections, but those are the good stuff.
Yeah.
Her farts, man. It's just like, that is just such an earnest story, and it sticks with you. And I think, you could say what you will about therapists in movies, because I don't think any of them are the most ethical in terms of like what you're supposed to actually do as a therapist. But to be fair, he wasn't actually practicing. He did this as a favor. But like, I love the connection that they make in that film. And Robin Williams was just amazing.
Oh yeah.
And young Matt Damon just going for it. And crazy to think how him and Ben Affleck all got started.
Yeah, like that was like that film like kind of started their friendship. And I think I remember like I find it crazy to think that Matt Damon got started Good Will Hunting by writing as like a one act play for a acting class that he took at Harvard. It went from that to being this feature length film. I think is also really, really cool and admirable too.
How you like them apples? And I'm still waiting for Good Will Hunting 2 hunting season. Kevin Smith got me too excited, and then we never got it. Gus Van Sant still sitting around counting his signing bonus somewhere. That's one of the most random jokes I think in a movie, but still hilarious. Now, Tyler, what's a film do you love that you feel like people would be surprised to hear that you love?
Yeah, so I was thinking about this before we came on here, and I have a couple. I just started a little Criterion collection, or like my own collection of like Criterion movies, and there are 2 movies that stick out to me, but I think one that I think would stick out like a sore thumb more would have to be this 1985 Russian film called Come and See. Have you ever heard this movie, Sean, or seen it?
Oh, I have. And so has like every cinephile on Letterboxd who made it the highest rated movie on there.
Yes.
You want to have a fun time? Don't watch Come and See.
Yeah, this movie is like the prime example. Like, I mean, if we talk about earlier how Terrence Fletcher's like, you know, scarier than most horror movie villains, this is probably the scariest non-horror movie I've ever seen in my entire life. Like, I mean, I'll even go as far as say it's like Schindler's List on steroids. I mean, I know it's a bold statement, but I will stick with it. I will hold my ground with that. And, you know, just seeing this character study of this kid, you know, who, you know, he abandons his family to join the army, thinking, oh, I'm gonna go kill some people. What could go wrong? And, you know, it goes wrong. But just to see like how it unfolds, just my jaw was on the floor. Like by the time the movie was done, my jaw had been like on the floor for like at least 5 minutes.
Russian cinema doesn't mess around.
Oh yeah,
and they don't care about being depressing. Yeah, it's just like, no, it is bleak. It is one of the bleakest films you'll probably ever watch, and you'll have to like play with puppies later. But like it's one of the kinds of things where it's just like that just takes it all out of you, and it's a hard watch. And I can't remember if I bought it yet or not, but.
While you're looking, let me just quickly say that like the reason why I originally watched this movie was because it's the second highest rated film on Letterboxd. I'm like, okay, this is the second highest rated film on Letterboxd. You know, let's see what it's all about. Let's see what all the hype is. And I see it. I'm like, okay, yep, fair enough. That's what everyone's saying it is. Totally agree, 100%.
It's just like, well, I get it. Will I watch it again? Maybe. But it's one of the kinds of things where it's just like it's in that category of like Schindler's List and certain things where it's just like you might not ever want to watch it again.
Yeah.
But I think it's such an amazing film that it would be, especially if you're like a big cinephile and love film, it would be a shame not to watch it at least once.
Oh yeah.
So
yeah, that movie and Schindler's List are like two examples of like, you know, movies you got to watch at least once. Schindler's List being for the fact that, you know, most accurate representation of the Holocaust. Come and See just because, you know, it's come and see.
Oh, it's threatening. It's like, come and see. I dare you. It's like a challenge. It's like, will you? But Tyler, my last question for you is, what do you love most about movies?
What I love most about movies is that, you know, it's escapism. It's, you know, you can tell there's, you know, it's storytelling. It's a form of storytelling that, you know, there's a lot of ways you can express it. There's a lot of ways, you know, you can tell it. There's a lot of ways you can view it. And, you know, I think back, you know, when you're making a movie, you know, there's more to it than just, you know, the director and the producer and the writer. You know, you're telling a story with, you know, in every single department, whether it's costuming, set designs, cinematography, the score, like, you know, there's so much more to cinema than, than what's, you know, in front of the camera and the big names behind it. And, you know, again, you know, if I just give us some, you know, if you're having a bad day, just put it on. You know, if you're having a good day, put it on. You know, it's just something that, you know, that you can do to just, you know, escape reality and, you know, just appreciate, you know, as a form of storytelling. So that's what I love most about movies.
Absolutely. And if you're having a great day and want to ruin it, watch Come and See.
Yep. That's
so there you go.
That's it.
I think it's a great thing that you pointed out, the appreciation for the fact that, like, why are credits so long? That's how many people went into making that movie.
Yeah.
And a special thanks to all the people that it says the assistant to Mr. Blah, 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 or Mrs. Blah, 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 because they're the real heroes, putting up with all the crap so that the other people could do their job. And that's the thing. It's just like so much goes into making a film, so many people, so many aspects. And, you know, it's one of my favorite, like watching the Oscars, I love seeing the cinematography Oscar because, like, I love that. If you couldn't tell, I love Deacons. But like being able to see all those aspects of film come together, because any one of them being bad can really mess it up.
Yeah.
It's like bad sound, you won't be able to unhear it.
Mm-hmm.
Bad editing, you can win an Oscar. Just look at Bohemian
Bohemian
Rhapsody. But like you can tell if it's not put together well, and it sticks out. Bad acting, bad directing, it's all there. It all has to come together, and that's the greatest films out there, or does everything right.
Yeah.
But Tyler, how I always like to wrap up the show is let my guest ask me a question.
Okay.
So, Tyler, what question would you like to ask the Wasteland Reviewer?
Okay, so I gotta think about this one because you're putting me on the spot here. But let's see here. Okay. All right, Shane. What movie would you say that you saw in theaters and was the best movie going experience, and which one was the worst movie going experience?
Oh, my best movie going experience. Oh, I've had a lot of fun ones over the years, and generally it's a lot of the times it's when you're there with other people, because like I'm the kind of person, I go to the movies by myself all the time.
Oh yeah, me too.
So it's always the ones where you like actually get to be there with somebody. One of my favorites was when I took my brother to go see This Is the End for his birthday, because it came out his birthday weekend.
Yeah.
And I'm pretty sure my brother almost pissed himself because he was laughing so hard, keeled over in his seat. And that was just a fun time. And Force Awakens was definitely one of them too, because again, my brother was dressed up head to toe as Kylo Ren. He spent like the $250 and got like the legit crossguard lightsaber. And he went to the bathroom and asked me to hold it, and I was still wearing a suit from work. And I'm just standing there in like business attire and sitting there with a crossguard lightsaber. And then he started taking pictures with a Anakin and an Obi-Wan cosplayer who also went to go see the movie. And they're all just standing in the middle of AMC. And then there was also a bunch of fights in the parking lot, which was nuts, but get things interesting. Worst movie-going experiences. Here's a recent one too, was when I went to go see Dune. So 2 people brought their babies who were crying on and off the whole entire movie. And then this 15-year-old kid started screaming, "Shut up with your babies!" And I'm like, "You're not making it any better." And it's just like, and that was one of those moments. That was one of the first times I went back to the movies with people after COVID. And I'm sitting there like, maybe Christopher Nolan was wrong about the movie going experience, and I'm just sitting there like, oh God. And
maybe he didn't even know it was. Maybe he was going too far when he said watching it at home is like putting a speedboat in a bathtub.
Well, you probably shouldn't put your babies in the speedboat when you go to the movie theater. So that's a problem. And I think one of my other ones was I saw A Quiet Place in theaters. And here's the thing about A Quiet Place. It's most effective when people are quiet. And the person behind us had to have had some kind of like sinus infection or something, because the whole entire movie he's just like and my very close friend John is like, and I'm like, "John, calm down." Those are probably the tickers, because like when you have those kinds of things that get in the way of you enjoying the experience, that sucks. And 2 times that like the movies were so great, and what made this so frustrating is like I wind up having some surprise trips to the bathroom sometimes. I held it for 50 minutes at the end of Rogue One, A Star Wars Story, because I was not leaving the theater. And I'm glad I did not, because if I missed that Darth Vader scene at the end, I would have flipped out. And then I remember watching Wind River in theaters, and it was just getting to the part where they cut away to that flashback scene. I'm like, I really have to go to the bathroom, but like I can't leave now. And I held it the rest of like the half hour of the movie. I'm just like, but you know, those are like mixed bag interesting stories.
Yeah.
So, you know, going to the movies is such an interesting thing sometimes. But those are some of the highlights of my experience going to the movies. So that's a very good question. It's always fun reminiscing about going to the movies, especially after when COVID, it's like couldn't go for so long and finally getting a chance to go.
Oh yeah.
But Tyler, this was a lot of fun, and I appreciate you coming on the show.
Hey, thank you so much for having me on here.
And thank all of you for always tuning in and supporting your Wasteland Reviewer.